The Venom Saga is unfortunately my last DVD when it comes to Spider-Man, the animated series. I know, I guess it's come to an end on my reviews for this animated show. Well, if it's gonna end, then why not go with a bang, because not only is this my favorite story arc in the whole series, but it involves my favorite Spider-Man villain of all time. Now, the first episode we see John Jameson, yes, J. Jonah Jameson's son. He's an astronaut. You see him on the moon until a quake happens and him and his partner quickly get off. And while they're trying to go back to Earth, this alien symbiote has come on board and they crash on this bridge in New York. And I found it hilarious that the Kingpin, who of course had to make an appearance, he hires Rhino to go to this ship and steal this meteor rock. And it's just funny when the Kingpin calls Rhino, because Rhino is in his apartment in full costume. It's just, I don't know, it looked really silly. So Rhino shows up. This is actually his first appearance on this show, which is cool because, I mean, looking back on it, Rhino is a silly character. He's just this big, huge, monstrous guy in a Rhino costume. And as a kid, and more thinking back on it, I guess I thought more fondly of Rhino, but rewatching him, I'm like, yeah, I guess he is more of a lame character than I remember. But again, it was cool to see him and Spider-Man go at it for the first time. And we see struggling reporter Eddie Brock. Eddie Brock is actually struggling because Spider-Man messed up one of his stories, got him fired from the Daily Bugle. So he sees Rhino stealing this, but also he sees Spider-Man at the scene. So he takes pictures to make it look like Spider-Man was the one that stole this meteor rock, thus framing Spider-Man, which is what J. Jonah Jameson would love. Then we see the symbiote attach itself to Peter Parker without him really realizing it while he's sleeping. I love the scene of just how it creeps over to his bed, and then you get this nice dream, very reminiscent of the Birth of Venom comic book story, where Peter Parker has the same dream of him running through the streets, and you see a giant symbiote fighting a giant Spider-Man costume. Essentially, these two forces fighting over Peter Parker. It's almost a Godzilla-like fight because they're throwing each other through buildings. Obviously, the symbiote wins, and when Spider-Man wakes up, he's out in the city. He's upside down, he sees his reflection on a building, and he's wearing the black suit. And seeing Parker's reaction to this black suit and how much more powerful it makes him and how much more fun it is to be Spider-Man in this black suit. It's very cool to see this done on the animated show. Not only because it's, again, nostalgic, it just reminds me, it brings me back to when I was a kid and first seeing the Venom story, the Venom Saga play out. Very cool, but also ever since then, reading the comic book story, reading the birth of the black suit and Venom, and just seeing how much this animated show was able to get right and accurate. I mean, obviously not everything's the same, like how the symbiote came to Earth, but still, I'm amazed by how they handled Spider-Man being in the black suit. And I guess ultimately I would have liked maybe a few more episodes of him wearing the black suit, but surprisingly they make him act pretty dark for a Saturday morning cartoon show. He gets aggressive and he gets cocky. I mean, more cocky than Spider-Man really is. And the scene where Spider-Man fights the Shocker, that just shows how cocky he is. Or not only that, when he fights Rhino again, but this time in the black suit, and he almost kills Rhino. He lifts up this metal door, and he's about to crush him with it until he realizes he's going too far. I'm sitting there like, wow, Saturday morning show, and we almost just saw Spider-Man kill one of the villains. Wow. Not only that, but you see Peter Parker, who is still wearing the suit, but he's being Peter Parker. He goes up to Felicia Hardy and he's flirting with her like crazy. And then Flash Thompson comes up and he's being a bully to Peter, and Peter's standing up to him, but not in the way you'd want him to. Like Peter's kind of being a dick to him. And seeing Flash's reaction to that, he kind of has a shocked look on his face, like he doesn't know really what to say. And then Felicia says she's afraid of Peter, what he's become. Now, when Black Suit Spider-Man is fighting Shocker at the bell tower, that's when he really realizes he has to get rid of the suit. And I love when the bell that goes off, that noise is triggering the black suit to go crazy, and he takes it off of him. It's pissed at Parker's rejection, and it immediately goes onto Eddie Brock. And again, full comic book mode with this, where we see Eddie Brock working out with weights and just becoming bigger and bigger, with pictures of Spider-Man on his wall, and just his hatred for Spider-Man building and building. I got a huge kick out of that. And I love what Venom does. He goes after, he's more stalking Spider-Man. And he's playing mind games with him, like he's constantly following him. Because the symbiote knows all of Peter Parker's secrets, because it was attached to him, now Eddie Brock has those secrets as well. He knows he's Peter Parker. He knows about Aunt May, Mary Jane, and he follows him to his house. He follows him and Mary Jane to the movie theaters, and just like Peter Parker is constantly seeing Venom everywhere, and you can't tell if Venom really is there or if he's driving Peter crazy. All of that I loved. In fact, there was one moment where Rhino and the Shocker teamed up to fight Spider-Man. Spider-Man had a funny line where he said, "These two guys teaming up, how did they meet? Online dating?" I'm like, wow, for the mid-90s? For Spider-Man to crack an online dating joke, I found really amusing. There's a moment where Spider-Man is trying to lure Venom away from the city, and Venom gets frustrated because he loses him on the train, and this just cracked me up. Venom goes into this truck and starts driving the truck towards the train, and the sight of Venom driving a truck, honking its horn, sticking his head out the window with his Venom tongue sticking out, I don't know. Hilarious. Now this episode ends with Spider-Man outsmarting Venom, separating Eddie Brock from the symbiote, and sending the symbiote back into space on this rocket. Just when you think Venom is gone, the next episode we see Eddie Brock in prison, and he has this therapist named Ashley. That story gets kind of interesting later on. But we also meet Cletus Cassidy, who is this psychopath, serial killer. I mean, they couldn't mention that on the show, but still, he seemed like a crazy guy with a bomb strapped to him, essentially a terrorist, and he gets caught thanks to Spider-Man. He gets put in jail, so he's now side by side with Eddie Brock. Dormammu, a weird name, but he's some guy, I guess, from hell. And he wants to use Tony Stark's dimension portal new weapon or machine. He wants to use that to get out of hell. First of all, why? I mean, it's cool to have Tony Stark here, of course, but why does Tony Stark want to even create some portal to open a dimension? That just screams problem. It screams bad idea. When Eddie Brock gets the Venom suit back, breaks out of prison, he goes after Spider-Man at this presentation. Very awesome to see War Machine show up. This was how I was aware of characters like this, like the minor characters, minor superheroes from Marvel. It was because of this show. Moments like this, War Machine, then Cletus Cassidy gets this offspring of Venom. It's like, essentially, Venom is technically Carnage's dad, in a way. So Carnage shows up, and Venom and Carnage are supposed to team up to help Dormammu escape his dimension. And then we get Iron Man show up, who Spider-Man doesn't know that Tony Stark is Iron Man, but still, it was, again, this is how I first became aware of Iron Man. And sure, looking back on it, Tony Stark in Iron Man wasn't as funny or interesting as he is in the Robert Downey Jr. movies, but still, hey, what can you do? I thought it was a little weird to have Venom's therapist, Ashley, like, have them fall in love with each other, because it was just like, well, she's his therapist. He was a prisoner. I mean, the fact that she would fall in love with a guy like this is, like, kind of shows that she's messed up in the head. But still, ultimately, I liked why they did it, because it forced Spider-Man and Venom to work together. Because she was able to get the good out of Venom, realize that this was all wrong, that he's better than this, that Carnage is completely whacked out of his mind and crazy and too evil, that he has to be stopped. So seeing these two great enemies team up was awesome. And then you come to the end where Venom even sacrifices himself for Ashley. It's like, for a character that we set up to be such a badass villain and so just evil, especially towards Spider-Man, to see it end with him redeeming himself and becoming a hero is very cool, and it's what makes Venom one of the most interesting Spider-Man villains, at least in my opinion. I love this character. Anyways, guys, let me know in the comments below if you have seen these episodes with Venom. What did you think of it? I may come back if I can find some more of these episodes online or something, and if I can watch those. Maybe I'll come back with some more reviews. But until then, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Later!